Good. All right, we're just making sure the Zoom was up so we could, all right, for the third time, make a motion to come on a closed session. Seconded by Sven for the third time. All those in favor, Keith and Martha. I am in favor.
Aye.
And Mark, motion has been made and carries. I'll make a motion to seal the minutes.
Second.
Seconded by Sven. And all those in favor, Mark?
Aye.
And Sven?
Aye.
I'm in favor. Martha? It's Keith. Motion carries. Make an announcement that no votes were made. Second item on the agenda is discuss and act on a request for indemnification for Comrade Cove Association. This item may also be discussed in closed session pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42465A2, sessions pertaining to collective bargaining or litigation, or work sessions pertaining to collective bargaining or litigation. I will let everybody know that this item is not quite ready to be discussed this evening, so we will be taking this up at another meeting. Item number 3 on the agenda is public comment. Does anybody have any public comment that's doesn't have anything to do with anything on the agenda already? Seeing none, item number 4 on the agenda is a report from Dr. Warcup from the Block Island Medical Center regarding COVID-19 and public health, and or discuss and act on an emergency town ordinance to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of and visitors to the town, which are imminently imperiled by unforeseen circumstances. So Dr. Warcup's in the audience this evening. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Good evening.
Love to hear from you. Good evening to you as well.
And here finally with exciting and favorable news about the state of coronavirus. Our state rates continue to really go down for consumption or comparison. January 14th, we were at 3,100 patients per 100,000, and then now 1 month later we're down to 292, which is terrific. So this level is consistent with where we were in November prior to the surge that we had seen through the holiday period. We continue to be in a high transmission rate. That is a number that puts us at 100, but we are steadily declining. Hospitalizations continue to really significantly lower at 137 this week, as high as 560 plus just several weeks ago. And hospitalization rates are equal to that of November, mid-November. The Delta variant is back to being the dominant variant in our state. There is some difficulty because you may have heard in the media something called the stealth variant. The PCR tests have some difficulty discerning between the subtypes of Omicron as that compared to Delta. So you might see kind of this combination of Delta and Omicron, where in mid-December 51% was Delta, in January 57% was Omicron, and now just as of 2 days ago we're back to 50% Delta, 10% Omicron. But that stealth variant may be what's kind of muddying this. Overall, the new Shoreham data continue to be very, very, very favorable. To date, through the pandemic, according to known cases by the DOH, we've had 191. We had 190, but we had a positive today. So 191 total cases known to the DOH. So that excludes things like home testing that we have reported to the state. We continue to have sporadic cases. I submitted to the council kind of visual that you can see that bell curve that happened last year and this year roughly at the same time, where in November 2020, December, January goes up, then we plummeted February, March, and then we saw the same kind of surge. This November, December, we went up to 30 and then 45 cases in January, and so far in February, we really strikingly gone down. So if our curve this year looks like last year's, February, March, April will be extremely favorable. According to the state, 1,207 people that identify themselves as New Shoreham have been vaccinated. That's terrific. Across the board, I also provided to the council that New Shoreham across the board is at 100% per capita. We obviously know that there are members of the community that are not vaccinated, but based on our numbers at the state and percentages of vaccines, we've done quite well. With all that being said, there's been really some amazingly compelling data over the last week about our T cell community. You hear much about antibody responses, vaccinations, booster vaccinations, et cetera. But there's been little in the immunity world talking about what we know our human body does, which is our T cells start to pick up immunity as we go out months from any kind of virus. That T cell immunity really conveys protection. And the data that we're seeing now is that if you've been infected with then getting a vaccine, getting 2 vaccines, or ultimately at the end of that, 3 vaccines, your T cell immunity is significantly higher in that order. So the combination of our vaccination rates, our current, how we're post-surge after the new year, that it's extremely compelling that our immunity rates are quite good. And it may be an opportunity for the council to address mask mandating if they wish. And I'm happy to provide the data just for your own background for the record overall. But it would be reasonable to consider some alteration if you are interested to discuss it further. But overall, quite good. COVID numbers are down. Our COVID numbers locally are down. Our immunization rates are quite good. And what was striking, I've been thinking a lot about this over the last couple of days. If you start to look at our numbers as compared to other states like Florida or South Carolina, it'd be interesting for you to see the stark similarities to the numbers, despite our state being considered early adopter of certain interventions during the pandemic. Happy to discuss further, but it would be very interesting.
Thanks, Tom. Council, questions for the doctor?
I mean, I'd love to, at least at a top line level, hear your comments about South Carolina. They're relevant, but I don't want to take up too much.
Just kind of very briefly, one of the questions has always been, is Omicron have less lethality? We talked about that in this chamber. And there's a lot to be said that potentially if Omicron was the very first variant, it would be as lethal as the Alpha and Delta. But what we're seeing now with the reduction in the curve compared to the first surge was that now you have vaccination rates, you have T cell immunity. So that conveyance is really the most important feature rather than almost any other mitigating step that we try to do in the public health sphere. So vaccinations work. Vaccinations for anybody who has not been vaccinated but was infected, please consider getting vaccinated. The data is extremely compelling to get your T cell immunity up. But if you look at our state deaths, about 3,534, and we have 1/20th the population of Florida, and we have 1/5 the population of South Carolina. If you multiply those by exactly the same coefficient, you have exactly the same death rates. Which is very interesting when you think about it from a population health standpoint, that vaccinations work, but possibly all other mitigating steps are curious.
Thanks, doctor. Anybody else?
I just have a question. If I can, did I interrupt anybody? Sorry. I just have a question about the under fives. Which is quite frankly at this point almost my exclusive concern for personal reasons, but also population health reasons. And I saw Pfizer seem to slow down the work, not the work they're doing, but the rollout, I guess. So could you talk to us about that a little bit?
Sure. The CDC commented on it's May 16th.
Yes.
Yes.
But CDC commented today on that, actually, that they're just taking a step back because it goes back to something that one of the compelling reasons is something we've heard in the past, which is the intervals in which we vaccinated adults, 21 days or 28 days. Was it possible to make that second vaccination much further out? Which is why Moderna seemed to hold up better than Pfizer did, because you were delayed another week or two.
Interesting.
So they're going back and looking at whether or not a single shot then spaced in a different interval for a child is actually more feasible, knowing what we know now. So that's why they're somewhat delaying getting that data out at ASAP, but the CDC commented on that today. So it'll definitely happen. They're just trying to be a little bit more thoughtful about the process.
Gotcha.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Not in the doctor's,
What's that?
not in the doctor's report. If you want to get to talk
Okay.
about the rest of it.
All right.
Well, I guess we're looking for clarification here. We're still going on the emergency ordinance that we adopted the first of
September.
September?
Yeah.
That was just
Before Labor Day.
before, just before Labor Day.
Yep.
Yeah, okay,
Which is an indoor mask mandate.
right. And the state of Rhode Island right now is doing what? Did you add, so they seem to be changing every day.
Yeah, but certainly the governor has made some very overt statements about some latitude with school systems and other institutions. So my understanding is that as of now, I think that the mask mandate is being relaxed in outdoor situations and that indoor environments can potentially make their own recommendations.
Did the school committee not repeal their indoor?
It's my
notwithstanding
understanding what the school
ordinance?
committee did was, they lifted the mask mandate. The governor allowed the individual schools to make that decision. It's no longer being
But
dictated by
but
Rhode Island
not-
Department of Education.
notwithstanding the town ordinance?
Yes.
So they lifted them, they lifted the mask mandate in the school as of March 11th. That's when the kids come back from vacation.
I think it reads as may modify their mask ordinance.
Right.
I'm not, I'm there, March 11th.
Separate apart from that, it's an interesting question about whether school policy overrules a town ordinance. Just kind of an interesting question. I'm not.
Do we have an answer to that?
I don't know.
No, I don't think
It's
so.
an interesting question,
I don't think no,
right?
because it's town ordinance.
Yeah.
Not a state.
Is what,
Not a state.
Correct.
see, what we had done prior to this ordinance was just go along with state
Yes.
for, in the very beginning, we were much more stringent. And then we, in largely, it was a matter of summer confusion, enforcement, what we could get, just keeping it all the same. And then we get concerned.
Once we hit the high, what's called high transmission, that's when we got concerned, and that's when we adopted this mask ordinance that's currently in place.
Which is the one that we had been from, when was it, the summer? I've lost track of time. It was, but for a long time, we've just been mirroring the state.
At that time,
Go ahead, Sven.
so at that time, we had a lot of discussion about separating from the state, and we decided as a council that we would get, I'll use the word more restrictive, but that we were concerned about Labor Day, we're concerned about then the fall, high spikes, et cetera. And we had a really, and vaccinations were really just ramping up. So we had a really good discussion about it, and we had the ordinance, which is the indoor mask mandate, that was technically our own mandate. I feel, based on the doctor's comments today, and maybe you have more comments, but I'm sort of the camp that I would like to get back to the state and sort of be along with the state. Obviously, that could change if the environment changes and condition changes, but I would like to have a good discussion about our current mandate.
Does the chief have anything
No, I don't.
wisely?
I know, we're all beating around the bush. All right, so here we go. Here we go. We're all beating around the bush on this. So here, I'll be the guy. I'll make a motion that we repeal the mask ordinance adopted by the town of New Shore dated September 1st regarding masks, effective immediately.
Second.
Okay, so that's okay. So for discussion. So we're all beating around the bush around this. Okay, so obviously this is what we want to discuss here this evening. Motion been made and seconded. Doctor, what are your thoughts on that?
I think the data is very compelling that we probably, given our vaccination rates or post-infection rates for many individuals that chose not to be vaccinated, and the current state of coronavirus throughout our region, that it's probably very reasonable to move it to a personal choice to wear a mask. I think supporting people that are interested in wearing a mask. There would be some entity like healthcare where we're under a different guidance and a different risk population. People are coming to us still. So the health center would still have a mask. People will be requested to wear a mask. The school, I've been in communication with the school medical team and superintendent. Obviously, they take their discussion into consideration if they need Monday. So I would think it's very reasonable.
Thank you for that. So that would, this would not affect the ferry, as you noted in your memo to us this afternoon. This wouldn't affect the school right now. These are public these are indoor places on Block Island that the town has the control over. So, but anybody who would want to continue, like the store or something like that, or any business, they would be able to keep them, they would be able to keep them signing their door saying mass allowed. And they would be able to do that.
It's up to the business.
It's up to, so we're leaving this up to the businesses. A motion has been made. Is there any other discussion from the council?
Yeah, I just a couple of things. One is, one of the things that has impressed me, three of you went through this war, and I think you did. One of the things that really impressed me is I think you went with the science, and what the medical advice was very consistently through that process. You and Sven and Martha and Ken and Chris. And I don't think that happened in a lot of places, and I really admired that through the process. Here's my issue. And this is personal. I have an 18-month-old granddaughter who can't get vaccinated, and a 3-day-old newborn who can't get vaccinated, and I have a very hard time getting around that on this vote. I mean, that's sort of my personal thing, and I haven't even decided yet how I'm going to vote, but that's kind of the thing that is weighing most heavily on my mind. But having said that, and back to the initial point, Dr. Workup has, I think served this community so well in providing advice, and his advice seems very clear. So that's, I feel really like we should be consistent as a town in not injecting our own opinions and fears into this decision-making, so.
Thanks. Absolutely, Doctor.
I think one thing that we'll read about in the end of all this, and decades to come, is that a mask mandate isn't improper. It was the execution on any kind of mask mandate. I mean, some people use as a gaiter, some uses a handkerchief, somebody uses a mask that's halfway on their face, some of it's on their nose. So without enforcement of proper mask fitting and wearing, I think that's where we're seeing the skewed numbers compared to other states that are far less stringent or early adopters. That's, like I said, I've been trying to really think about this, because I knew this would come up over the last couple of days. Bumped it up some other colleagues and what the data is showing. I think that's eventually masks work. But you got to use it correctly for that to work. And given that most of the community adheres, some have adhered, some don't adhere at all, then we get to a point where really it's a personal choice.
Oh, good.
Thank
you,
I just
Doctor.
want to echo a little bit to Andre's point about the business who wants to have masks in their store. Keith, to you and your family, having masks in the house, I totally, or whatever, one may decide to do. This whole experience has taught me one thing. I have not had the typical cold for 2+ years. And wearing a mask on the ferry or wearing a mask in, high congestion areas, it works. I mean, and it's very clearly that there are some other side benefits that we're all experiencing. So I think many of us are going to wear masks on the ferry probably, especially in the summer. And that's sort of the way I'm going to go. So I think the difference between me controlling what I'm doing and a mandate is really just about personal choice.
That's very consistent with the CDC.
No, I did some homework this past week, tackling people, parents, business owners and the such. And I had a good cross section from them, but I was really hoping more people would be here tonight in the business community, parents, store, things like that. But I guess what it comes down to, regardless of what our vote is tonight, that everyone remains civil to everyone else, regardless of their decision on this. If someone goes in with a mask, or even if, just be kind to the business owner and don't object if that's the case, especially at the store, especially at the bank. These are neighbors. Let's all live together.
Thanks, Mark. Doc, anything else? Motion been made and seconded. All those in favor? Keith? Oh, sorry, Mark? I'll come back to you. Mark?
Aye.
And Keith, Sven? I'm in favor. Martha?
Aye.
And Keith?
No.
Okay, motion will carry 4-1. On the masks. That was effective immediately, correct?
That's what you said.
Shall I be the first?
I'm gonna keep mine on because I'm near you.
That's all right.
Go near the East Grange.
I'm kidding. I'll leave it on for the rest of the night. All right, public hearing, receive an act on proposed amendments to the Town of New Shum General Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 4, Public Property, Division 3, Capital Improvements. Okay, I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second?
Seconded by Sven. All those in favor, Keith and Martha? I'm in favor, Sven
Aye.
and Mark.
Aye. Thanks, Colby.
Yes.
This is great.
What is that?
This is great.
Thumbs up on this, Matt?
Absolutely. Love it.
That was Jill Seffa.
Whoa. You got special tabs?
We all do except for you.
I knew I was special.
Public hearing, we've been discussing this, capital improvements administration. We've had 3 or 4 meetings on this already, a couple public hearings, some changes were made. That's why we're here this evening, is to, have a public hearing and vote on the changes. The changes have been underlined and those that have been stricken out are stricken out. I'm just wondering if the council has any more comments on this item.
No, I think it's the wording we wanted.
Yeah. And as I said, this has been like, what, the 3rd meeting we've had on this one? Okay. Second. All right, so is there any comments from the public? I will make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
Seconded by Sven. All those in favor, Keith?
Yes.
Martha? I'm in favor. Sven?
Yep.
And Mark.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0 to close the public hearing. I will make a motion to adopt the proposed amendments to the Town of New Shum General Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 4, Public Property, Division 3, Capital Improvements as presented.
Second?
Seconded by Sven. Council, any questions, comments, or concerns?
No, my only comment, yes, I guess. My comment, Marianne, thank you, is that we did do that little loop after the planning board and a little bit of public comment. So I'm glad that got it in, and thank you, Amy.
Thanks, Sven. Public comments from the public. Hearing none. All those in favor, Keith?
Yes.
Martha, I'm in favor. Sven
Aye.
and Mark.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0 to approve the changes. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Marianne, for that. I know there's I know a lot of work went into that. So item number 6 is to announce the vacancies for Commission on Motor Vehicles for Hire, Board of Canvassers, Deer Task Force, Senior Advisory Committee, and the Conservation Commission. The Commission on Motor Vehicles for Hire, there's one 3-year position, and that individual must not hold a town taxi, bus, or limousine license. There is a position on the Board of Canvassers. It is a 1 3-year term and 2 1-year alternate positions. Those are new, right, Millie? Those new?
No, the alternate positions that Just 1 year terms.
Okay.
They're careful now.
Dear Task Force, 1-year term. If you sign up for the Dear Task Force, we will also give you a position on the Commission on Motor Vehicles for Hire, just because we could put, we could use 2. Senior Advisory Committee is 1-year term. And on the Conservation Commission, a 1-year term. If anybody's interested in any of these positions, please reach out to the town clerk for more information or send the town council a letter of interest. We would love to have you.
We should have one letter of interest for Conservation Commission at next month's
Okay.
meeting.
Perfect. Next item on the agenda is 7, hawkers and peddlers licenses. A, discuss and act on locations for 2022, and B, discuss and act on a license application for Julia Gazer. Julia's mom is on the board of directors that oversees my license for my food truck, so I'm going to recuse from these 2 items.
Do you want to do A? No?
My location is there. My location is on that list, so no.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yep.
All right.
All right.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
Everybody, we sort of been through this a little bit, couple of stutter steps. Any discussion on locations for 2022? Any preferred locations? Mark? Nope. Keith? Nope. Martha?
Are you asking whether we have questions?
Yes.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Is this? We have everybody?
We have everybody. Settlers Rock, Southeast Light, Mosquito Beach, Shirlene's, Interstate for the winter, or Interstate, and then Carol Payne's down at Fort Island.
Did we do the farm before?
Oh, yeah, the farm should, so the farm should be on this list. This is the one from 2019. So I will say that the 2020 list that you did include, excuse me, the 2020 list that you did include the farm. So I will ask you to put that on. We can look up the plat and lot after the fact if you're okay with that, or I can run down the hall. The last list that from 2020 did not include plat 1, lot 16. So I'm going to ask you to just to re-motion the entire list. Okay.
Including. Should we be?
Including the
Should
farm.
we take 2 minutes and just get the plat and lot?
Sure. I mean, I can, or I can, you can say the garden lot and I'll look it up and I can add it to it. And if you're.
She had transcript in the office, I would suggest yes, but.
No, I got it. I got it.
Thank you.
So no questions, because then I can read through this.
Great Salt Pond isn't included for the,
Carol, Great Salt Pond.
Mosquito Beach.
No,
Great
you
Salt
mean
Pond
the donut?
is Aldo's. And I don't know if that had ever been included in the past
Yes.
as a location.
It
Okay,
was.
then would you please add that as well? This is what I could put my hands on.
Where
I
there was a
apologize.
lot of debate
We'll
last
get
time,
better.
where there was a lot of debate last time was that a hawker and peddler or a food truck? How do we deal with a food truck if it's on a boat? I just remember there was a lot of
Okay.
debate around that.
Very good.
Good catch, Mark and Martha. And you'll add the plat and lot to those too?
I will.
Okay, so since there are any other questions, because there were 2 great ones just now. So I'll make a motion, unless there's any public discussion, I'm not seeing any. I'll make a motion to include the following hawkers and peddlers license locations of plat 1, lot 16, town land at Settlers Rock. Plat 8, lot 1, Southeast Light Reservation. Plat 4, lot 68, Mosquito Beach. Plat 6, lot 129, Goburn Property, Old Town Road. Plat 6, lot 150, Interstate Taxi Lot. Plat 5, lot 104, Carol Payne Property at Fort Island. Plat and lot to be completed, 1661 Farm Garden Lot. And plat and lot to be completed for the Great Salt Pond as locations for 2022-23. hawkers and peddlers license locations.
Sorry.
Seconded by Keith. More discussion? Martha, how do you vote?
Aye.
Keith?
Yes.
Mark?
Aye.
I vote in the affirmative as well, 4-0, given Andre's refusal, unanimous. Next section is discuss and act on license application, and all of those applications except for Plat 1, Lot 16 should have been in already, and they were already completed. Is that right, Millie?
That's-
Yep, okay, just making sure. So discuss and act on license application for 2022 by Julia Gasser, which regards Plat 1, Lot 16. Any discussion?
Okay, we do have John Gasser in the audience, who'd like to speak.
Yes, John, you have to first announce what country you're in or when you'll be in a different country.
Let me,
Oh, I thought that was sort of funny. Wasn't even connected. I know. Johnny there?
no, I'm trying to,
I'd like to know if it's a movable cart or a little building on wheels. It says for a movable cart, parentheses, little building on wheels.
it's really seems to be frozen here. I can't seem to.
I literally think he's in Europe right now or they're on their way, so he could be.
Dan, I think I'm gonna have to go negotiate this from up the hall.
Can we just stipulate that he showed up?
Yes. Can,
Unless Millie.
what do you want to do, Millie?
Unless Millie needs to get.
I'm pretty sure he would just ask for the, explain it if there are questions. I don't think there are questions.
I feel like you have to, that being a public meeting, you
Yep.
have to do that. I have to do it with me.
Yep, take your time. We're ahead of schedule. This is great. We're moving. We're gonna keep moving. Good. No, I got it. Olympics are on.
We used to have like 3 people.
For those who are in the audience and don't know, this is about a little movable cart that Julia Gasser is proposing for Plat 1, Lot 19.
Is it one?
No, I'm having Zoom problems today. Or YouTube, Zoom, let's see.
116.
Here we go, allow to talk.
Thank you.
Talk.
So it's Plat 1, Lot
Yeah,
16.
you wanna do this? Oh, maybe that, now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. How are you?
Hi, sorry. No, I'm in Boston, and it's not a movable cart, it's a stationary cart.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll move it, and after hours, it will be moved to our property right there.
Right. So you will actually move the cart or the little house to and from your property to that location.
Daily.
Daily.
And so, and that's going to the North Light parking lot, right?
Yes,
And the plan is still to sell water, soda, juice, Gatorade, prepackaged snacks, nuts, trail mix, dried fruit, handcrafted wood cart. Yep.
yep.
Any questions, Keith?
No,
Martha?
no problem with it.
Hearing no questions, seeing no questions from the audience, I make a motion to approve the application by Julia Gassner for Plat 1, Lot 16, North Parking Lot for the 22-23 season for hawkers and peddlers license. Seconded by Keith. More discussion? Mark, how do you vote? Aye. Keith, how do you vote?
I'm a yes.
And Martha?
Aye.
And I'm a yes as well. Congratulations to Julia. That's a unanimous vote 4-0 with Andre abstaining. and unanimous, so please give Julia our best, and we all look forward to seeing the movable little building.
Thank you very much. You guys be safe, and we'll see you soon.
Bye now. All righty.
Boys and girls, excuse me, Martha.
All righty, Andre? You out there? We'll just keep moving along here. Marianne, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, item number 8, we'll just, because it can start, receive and act on report of town manager, public works, finance, school, library, recreation, administration, harbors, broadband, police, roads, cable, and anything else you want to talk about.
So attached, you have my copy of my report to the council. There's a couple of things, though, I would like to point out in the report, specifically under.
Wait, hold on a second. You don't have it? I have, oh, I got it.
Everybody has it online, sorry.
I do.
Yeah.
Even Mark is online. Is it under something?
Then Martha's doesn't have it.
Martha's have the report.
Oh, this is it. I can see.
You're on a roll, Marianne.
So, as I was saying, I'd just like to point out a few things in the town manager's report, specifically, during my short time here, it was COVID, and then was Hurricane Henri, and now the blizzard of 2022. I'd just like to note, I would like to thank and kudos to Mike Shea and his department. Mike with Justin Dunlop, Jackson Hall, Joe Petraka, and Grady Shea did a phenomenal job to clearing the roads, especially with the high winds we had. I rode around the island on Sunday after the storm, and I was really surprised and pleased. Clearly, there was some stuff that they needed to get to, that they did get to later in that week, but all things considering, I thought they did a phenomenal job. Also, just to update the council, I did meet with May 4th at the end of last week. There's a few things that we did discuss. They will be providing us monthly reports of what they're working on and what we've discussed. Currently, they're working on a meeting with the Rhode Island Housing Czar that is tentatively scheduled for the 28th. I did send out an email to the council, and both Andre and Keith stated that they would like to participate in that meeting, so that will be the case.
Put me on that list too, please.
I can't do 3, I can only do 2 council members. So if you guys want to switch hit or something, let me know. The other thing is there's a meeting, I have a meeting scheduled with U.S. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse. That's in the middle of March. We're hoping after the initial meeting with Sheldon Whitehouse that he will be coming out to the island after that. That's what we're working towards. Also, I spoke with him.
Is anyone going with you to that meeting?
I'm sorry?
Is anybody going with you to that meeting?
No, that's going to be a Zoom meeting. I'll meet with Sheldon Whitehouse and his staff, and May 4th folks will be on that meeting. I thought once he comes out here, then we would entertain him meeting with the council. Also, I spent some time chatting with the folks from May 4th regarding tax reform, tier tax system. They will be doing some research on that and will be getting back to us at another time. I also spoke with them about the appropriations application that they anticipate opening probably later this year, probably in another month or so. Both Rick and I discussed it at length as to what we thought we could apply for. And before we even got to the discussion as to what we both were interested, we both came to the same particular item. At this point, I prefer not to get into what I'm thinking about doing. I'd rather get some more information in that regard. Also attached is obviously the finance director's report and also the schedule with broadband. But once you're through my town manager report, we do have folks from Mission Broadband here that will provide an update to the council as to the status of that project and where things are going.
Thank you, Marianne. Public finance, where do you want to go next? Do you want to go to finance?
I have questions.
I'm sorry.
What's going on with Thomas property?
So the Thomas property, what had happened was the 513 that was applicable to that property expired in December of 2020. We've asked the planning board if they can, we have to bring that 513 back online as an ordinance. Allison did ask the planning board at the last planning meeting if they could do that, carve that out of everything else they're doing, because they are reviewing the whole 513 ordinance as we currently know it. They prefer not to. They would prefer to wait and have it be part of the ordinance that they're reviewing. While that's still going on, the building facilities director is working with the architect and also looking in possibly doing a modular home on that piece of property.
So can I just ask, like, so this was approved in 2018. There's $750,000. We have a tremendous clamor for housing. What took a year? You know, like, in other words, the fact that 513 expires actually sort of raises more questions.
513 expired in December 2020. I wasn't aware of that. I wasn't even aware of that. There was a 513 on the books. Obviously in 90 days. Was not aware of that.
But what was the holdup on the whole project, I guess?
Basically, we had transition of facilities directors. That's a facilities director's project. The facilities director at the time was Sam Bird. He was working on another number of other projects as well as the broadband project. The current facilities director is not actively involved in the broadband project, more on the outside a little bit, like I'm on the outside with that project, and that's what happened.
And planning has suggested that they don't want to extend that?
No, it's, I want to be clear. It's not that they don't want to extend it. They want to look at that while they're looking at the whole 513.
But how long?
Yeah, I mean, I would suggest that we send a letter asking them to do what we need to do on the.
What I can do is ask them to put on their next agenda item, and I can attend the meeting.
Yeah, I mean, jeepers, it's been since 2018.
Can I add to that? It's now that Keith's brought it up. I thought that the last time we left that, you're saying a modular. I thought the last time we left that, the actual Thomas house, and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, Martha or Amy might have been there. There was going to be 4 apartments created.
So what are we looking at is exactly that. What we're exploring is 2 different options. One is renovating the current house. The second one is keeping part of the current house and adding a modular to it, so that it's a house with a modular on it. So those are the things we're exploring. We're exploring a couple of different options of what we can put there.
And to play devil's advocate, there's some items in your house that aren't complete either. I mean, I know this was COVID. This was stuff, you know, that stopped this. I mean, it's not like anyone's, you know, we went through, the town manager left, the facilities manager left. The town manager left, the facilities manager left. You know, so just for the record, I mean, it's not something that just stopped. Everybody who was pretty much would have been in charge of that project is gone, has left and has changed. So there's no blame to put anywhere here. But I would like to, can we revisit that? I mean, I just want to be refreshed as to what the actual plan was.
Sure.
And I thought it was.
There was more than one.
There was 4. There's going to be 4.
Yeah, there was 4 apartments, and then there was discussion, I think, about another modular next to the town manager's
So
house
the
on the end.
513 that
if
was
there were room.
approved, that sunset allowed for 5 kitchens. We'll call it kitchens. The principal kitchen is the current house on the property, and there was going to be 4 additional kitchens.
Yeah,
And that's what was sunset. That was sunset in December of 2020. Why that happened, why they put that on there, I have no
Oh,
idea.
God, I've forgotten all about that. That had
So
all
they-
snarled up with the lawsuit and the,
Yeah, it would put,
oh, good God, it just repressed all this stuff.
So that's why what we're looking to do
Holy moly.
is exactly what was in the original ordinance until it's sunset. 1 primary house, which is what the ordinance says, and 4 what we'll call separate homes or apartments, townhouses,
Kitchens.
whatever you want to do, with 4 kitchens. That's what we're looking to do.
And at the last meeting or the meeting before, you had said that they were looking primarily right now at two bedrooms and one bedroom and then something else for the garage down the road or?
We're not sure about the
Not sure.
garage because of the fact of the ordinance,
Yeah.
whether we can do that. Also, keep in mind, the ordinance stipulates only 2 bedrooms in the 513. However, the principal house can have more than 2. That's why the other house that I'm currently living in has 3 bedrooms.
Can I ask a sort of technical procedural question? Do we need planning to extend the sunset date on that? I mean, if it's an ordinance,
Let me look into
This-
that. And if not, I'll bring it forward.
I believe the sunset date was also just so that the 513 and some of the zoning stuff would get done.
But when was that voted?
Oh,
Before COVID?
yeah.
Yeah, that's.
It was a long time. It was like when the whole
Yeah.
513 was issued.
but just sort of leaving COVID
No, I don't-
aside
I don't
and hitting the reset button.
Yeah,
You know,
that's-
it's not like, these are questions out of curiosity and wanting. We're talking about housing a lot. We have a project that is, that is at least partially funded. How do we get there? And my question is, if that was done by ordinance and the ordinance sunset, why do we have to talk to planning about that? Why can't we just change the sunset date?
There is something that may require planning to give an advisory.
Right.
I'm not,
Great.
but that doesn't mean we can't do it. And
Right.
I think I said this, it was about something else at maybe our last meeting. I just didn't want everything. to be
Marion,
held
please.
up by-
Yeah. There's a lot of unknowns. Let Marion answer. Give us an answer. Give us our options. Amy,
Well, no, I want to say what we want done.
I
I don't
understand.
think we should be looking for options, so we go through this at the next meeting,
Well, what the options were. Like, what was I don't remember what
Let me-
our options were, so. Let's Marion
Let me
give
look
us,
into it, please. I'll talk to our land use attorney also because he's the one that handles the plan and then I'll see.
and include, in that update, can you just include what is left for funds, like, out there
And also, one
on
other
the
thing,
project?
if there's one other thing I can mention that I didn't mention in my report, I did send an email to all the council members. You had wanted to have a housing forum.
Yeah.
I gave you dates, I gave you vacation schedules. I didn't hear back from any of you. I just heard back from one that said, they think Jen should be there. So that means it would be the middle of March because of people's vacation schedule. If you're okay with the middle of March with scheduling that, I'll have the town clerk schedule that for 'em.
I did respond.
You did, that's what I said, I had
Yeah,
one
okay.
response and asked and said that
Yes.
Jen should stay. So I'm gonna schedule that the middle of March.
I don't think I don't think there should be a whole great long list of people.
That's just, it's the council that's doing that. So can you put that in?
What's going on with the Bipco corner lot appraisal?
I was supposed to get that, I just emailed him before this meeting, that's supposed to come, he was supposed to have that to me before he went on vacation at the end of this week.
Then what's going on with the website?
I told you that I hope to do a soft launch by the end of February, the beginning of March.
Great.
Staff has all been trained, staff is still working on them. Staff is helping out other staff to get other pages set up, so that's going extremely well.
Great. And then the only other thing I had was, can we schedule a conversation with Jim, Jeremiah, Tom, Sam Bird, if he's still involved, on those town beach lots? So that we have on the town beach parking lots. Because I know we have a grid update, but I get, I want to hear how they're feeling about this and that they're comfortable. And, I know Martha has some thoughts and ideas as well, probably. I would very much like to have that as an agenda item. I think it's important enough to the community that we need to be speaking about that publicly.
If I can just add to that, I believe Orsted was trying to come up with solutions on the south lot, we hadn't heard much. And then on the north lot, I want to keep it separate from item 11. I'll tell you, I hope National Grid's quality work isn't anything represented by that snow fencing. That's probably one of the ugliest things that keeps falling down. I would hope that they realize that they should, try and make their work look some level of quality.
Nothing that inspires confidence.
Yes.
The only thing I-
Most embarrassing thing.
Well, They should just take it out because,
Either rip it out or do it right.
yeah, we would have been, the neck road would have been a mess in the snowstorm if it had been up. Just get rid of it.
Any more comments on the town manager's report?
No, thank you.
Yeah, I do have someone from the audience that I can't access.
Do we know if they,
I-
can you access them?
Telephone number, I can't access it.
Okay, while you're trying to do that, do we want to go through finance and broadband?
I will activate them now.
Keep them in.
The top level.
Do you want to move on to broadband?
I see, yeah, go ahead.
So we have,
Are we on number 8 or 9? Would that be 8 or 9? Because I see broadband and finance on 8.
broadband is a separate item, number 9.
Okay. So the report of the town manager, okay. Are we done with, I'm only confused because it says finance and broadband are highlighted in blue on number 8.
And we did a separate agenda item because the
Yes.
folks from broadband have joined us.
Yes, I see that. So does anybody have any questions about finance or anything else on number 8?
The only thing on finances, could you just give us a recap of where the budget process is and what's going on? I know we have all the meetings scheduled, but for at least the audience, how are things going with the departments, et cetera?
Department heads, if you're okay with me, or do you want Amy? to-
No.
Department heads budgets were due. They have all come in. Charlene is in the process of setting up meetings that Amy and I will meet with the staff during the next couple of weeks, and then we'll forward the budget to you based on the timeline that we have, that you
Right.
have.
And for anybody that wants to join in the audience, I think we have 5 meetings set up in March and April
Right.
and thrilling times. So
Yeah, in my report it says fiscal 2023 budgets were due from department heads February 7th. Amy and I will be meeting staff and community leaders in the coming weeks to discuss their proposals.
Millie, good?
Yeah, if you want to invite me to speak, it's, number is 497-5181.
Person on Zoom?
Lewis here.
David Lewis, thank you so much.
David Lewis.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
you obviously can hear me.
We
I had a
can,
comment to make.
Can't hear.
go ahead,
Can you
David.
hear me okay?
Absolutely.
I wanted to make just a brief comment and a question with regard to the notation that Mary Ann had made in her administrative report about the upcoming meeting with Transportation Secretary Alviti. I think that's great news, getting him and his team out here to take a look. There hasn't been, obviously, I'm not sure what's on Mary Ann's specific agenda, hers and Mike Shea's, with regard to that discussion. I'm operating under the assumption that the state is still responsible for major maintenance on state roads. And specifically, I'm concerned about the stretch from Old Mill Road down to Warden's Pond, and also from Warden's Pond continuing around on West Side Road with respect as far as Joe Sprague's sand pit. And my concern is that the road is getting seriously deteriorated from the shoulder grass in to the amount, it depends on where you stand, but if you stand down in the little area by No Bottom Pond, then just west of Jerry Anderson's house, for example, it goes 2 or 3 feet out toward the center line. But if they were to get out and examine some of those areas more closely, they would see how seriously the roadbed is being eaten away. So I've just wanted to know from Mary Ann if that type of review is specifically on your agenda with the director.
So what I hope to do is, especially in light of having the DEM director come out, it proved to be an excellent meeting that was very valuable. There's some other places I've noticed where I've seen similar erosion. I need to make note of what you just stated, where you saw it. I would like to have the director, RIDOT director, come out and show them these specific areas. I also would like to have him come out and look at the highway facility. and the condition that's in, and also the fact that we've been asking for and it's been discussed at length about a salt shed that we still don't have. So I hope that when he comes out, we're as successful as we were with Terrence Gray with Rhode Island DEM.
Thank you. And I guess I would just make the last note would be, once again, with the new infrastructure bill, you can be sure that the state is getting a lot more money than they may have originally planned for 3 or 4 years ago when they set out on their own state plan for modernizing roads. But it's reasonable for us, and those of us who are observing different towns and cities on the mainland in Rhode Island, see a lot of state roads that are not major highways being improved throughout the state. So I just hope we can get some of that money for Block Island on the matter of road beds, never mind the other peripheral items that you mentioned, which are similarly important, but not necessarily more important than the roads. I'd just like also to say that, this is not about bicycles. It's not about me walking it's not about automobiles as much nor is it about me walking on the roads. It's about bicycles and mopeds. Those things those potholes will throw any bicyclist that's not moving at 5 miles an hour if they're not careful. At some point, the town's going to get sued by visitors just for neglect. So anyway, let me leave you with those thoughts, and I'll go back on mute. I do have a comment when we get to broadband. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Quick item, Mary Ann, I want to be a hitchhiker in that car when the DOT director comes out, okay?
So I'm not laughing much. I've lost my place here.
I just want to be part of that discussion.
Item number 9 is receive an update on the broadband project. Thank you, gentlemen. I'll let Mary Ann take the lead, but I know you're here to speak about the broadband project.
So John Doherty's here, and you've seen him here some other times, but joining John is the president of Mission Broadband, Jim Rogers. I think you folks may have met him before. Some of you may have met him. So they're here to provide you an update of the broadband project.
Didn't we have a meeting with you guys individually? You guys asked us about broadband before you first came out? And yeah, all right. Well, welcome back. It's nice to see you again.
Thanks for having me back since COVID. Thank you for inviting us back. My name is Jim Rogers, as Mary Ann said, I'm president of Mission Broadband. I started the company 3 years ago. John Doherty is my vice president and general manager. We're doing some exciting things around New England, and I just want to thank you for the work that we're doing. Really appreciate it. We were involved in your project 3 years ago to build the committee anchors, to do the network, figure out how to get the subsea cable used to light up the community network and the school library medical center network. It's just a privilege and a pleasure that you have confidence in us and that you hired us back again. We're really enjoying working with this project and our big team that is assigned to it. So John Doherty is going to give you an update on the details of how we're doing. But I want to come out and personally thank you for your confidence in Mission Broadband and tell you that we really enjoy working with council and our team and all the people in the field. Thank you so much. You're welcome.
The meat.
Right. So where do we start? The last time I think we had the DEM approval. So I didn't say that last time we did have the access and we also got the CRMC. That's great.
It was CRMC, DEM and DOT, right? And I think where we were at where the current construction for Verizon, I think we're left up with Verizon.
Yes, yeah, so DOT expects that too.
So we're right. Okay.
Working with Jim Jeremiah, it's he's approved all the plans. Say that now, so those all been approved. So we have really what's left is Verizon. And today we got great news from them. They were out last week. There's a storm, as you know, so we got a late week, out last week. Got a lot of work done, some good work, and we received 18 additional licenses today. So,
Out of how many?
out of
Roughly?
Right, so I had to do math in my head, 42 total.
Third?
Seven outstanding.
A third?
Yeah, there's 7 outstanding. Those are not gonna hold anything up. Certex is bringing a crew out to start work on the aerial, as we call it, the whole work, so they can. They'll be out next to Center before, so they can continue doing the digging that they're doing. Continue doing the conduits to the homes, those orange little things that you see there as well. And then there's that area that's email thanks to Amy today, sent to the public safety. So there, everybody's on the same board, they're on the same board, they're gonna be on the streets, right? I know it's not busy yet, but I think it's good part of the behavior for them to come up and say, hey, let's talk to public safety and make sure everybody's on board. If there's any questions, the chief already has reached out and so they're talking. So that's great. So that part of the project is definitely moving forward. And then we'll see a lot of more activity as they say. Follow the phone lines, which on, you'll see the first piece, maybe what they call strands, the next little strand that goes up, and then they're gonna wrap 5 directions. So the whole north end, we're ready to go, and so that's why we're doing the telecommunication building, ocean, did I get that right? Now, beach, and then up the whole next, the whole north side. That's moving along. We're in good shape there. They've got the material here with the DEM CRMC permits. It's also a product called silk salt. So it's very run on. They're actually digging. They require that in certain areas. So they've ordered that. So they've ordered that. That's actually been ordered on a truck. And we're working on getting that out next week. We don't want to very situation that I do.
Yeah, we do.
It's on its way.
All right.
So, good things are happening there, continuing to work with Ocean, there's a turnout that needs to happen as well, have telecommunications building, the equipment that's gonna go along with that, so that we're gonna see, with the gym in the next month, will be some contracts as well, so. We'll put those, very, obviously, council, and those to you guys. The actual operator agreement and the ISP agreement.
I certainly appreciate you coming here. I know a lot of people have had questions about the broadband, and you've been available to us, and I think we all certainly appreciate that. This isn't the first, this is the first time you've been here this year. So we appreciate you coming. Does the council have any specific questions?
I just have a timeline. I have two. I have a timeline question because it seems like the timeline has now sort of officially kind of pushed out for lighting up in March of 22. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes. Yeah.
How comfortable are you with that? I think people, to me, it's sort of like what people don't want is to have a date that's constantly.
Yes, moving out. Understood. I'll be more comfortable when I get some contracts done. Because that's gonna, we're good with getting the construction piece done and the backbone pieces. And now we need these contracts done. So the next piece can be executed.
What is the next piece to do?
It's gonna be the operating agreement, right? So you have the construction, agreement, that's how that. So now what we need is an operator agreement.
And that's with Ocean?
And the ISP, no, the operator's gonna be Certex, and the ISP is gonna be an operator. Hang out there.
This I know is a lot of it. That's all right.
Hey, how optimistic are you about the remaining Verizon contracts?
They committed to still on the first floor, so I'm not concerned about it right now. They gave us what they needed completed, so but right now.
So,
Okay.
so you'll be here early April. I think we have a meeting on April 3rd. So when our experience with Verizon is that they always deliver on time and actually ahead of time. So on April 3rd, we'd love to see you and see how many are still out.
Okay.
Let's hope it's 0. I don't think so, but let's hope. And I'm sorry, just to make sure, because I understand Keith's question about March 22. If you had a crystal ball, what's your timing frame?
for which there's a lot.
Yes.
There's a lot of topics.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I would like to say, we can finish up, again, some of these contracts from turning on electronics and getting ready. That's probably safer than the full time frame, I would say. Customers, I think that's what we really want to get to, right, when we set our customers up.
Yep.
And so I'm safer on that time frame for actual customers, because there's so much, work that has to be done from a central office standpoint, turn on the equipment and testing, obviously, the different circuits.
No, I'm sorry, I'm sorry to be numb here for a minute. That was numb, not dumb. I'm both. So you think just if one were to ask me on the street, somebody were to stop me on the street and say, do you think we'll have broadband up and running middle of the summer? You're feeling semi-confident in that?
I'm feeling semi-confident as I stand here.
Okay.
I got November 22 on my timeline here, so.
What's the over under?
What I asked for was one question.
I think there might be one other sentence that says we may be starting people, but
Yes.
not everyone comes on at once.
Oh, gosh,
So the
that's true.
turnover
Sorry.
process.
Yes.
He said you were starting on the north end, and that's really the only, just to be very clear. That was a joke.
Yes.
Okay.
No, so we'll
Starting is great.
Yeah, it's a question a lot of people ask. What's the over under? Uh-huh.
it will take time, right?
Yeah.
It takes time. There's a lot.
And to Andre's point, November, I was just looking.
April through November.
Yep.
Is the new timeline.
That's really.
Okay.
Need to work through, and see how it's gonna go on, people are still signing up and talking about that next time, and then people are gonna show up and say, hey, I didn't know I could sign up.
Yep.
They're gonna be.
But the idea is to start turning on Beacon Hill Road.
I'll make a note of that.
No, you won't.
I'd like to get
We need to know when Martha will be able to start streaming her Chippendales. I mean Clydesdales. Sorry, Clydesdales. All right.
Actually,
Oops.
every time I read about the inflationary pressures in the economy, I think about a project that we planned for $8 million in an entirely different inflationary economy. I assume at some point we're going to have to talk about financial aspects of this with our lobbyists and with our account. So more information we're giving people about where we are on that.
And you cannot say Lewis Farm.
David Lewis, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, I do.
You're
Yes,
li-
I do. I promise I'll be back. So it was very difficult to hear the gentleman speaking directly about the Verizon topic, but from what I gathered, it's the same old story. Verizon didn't make their February dates, as were reported in last month's schedule, or the ones that were published in the schedule that was on the street for today's meeting. So I guess at this point, I've just about had my patience with everybody involved with broadband who was so patient with Verizon. I'm a little bit baffled why the council and administration haven't reached out to some of our other state leaders to get Verizon to react. I mean, they have made broadband as communities a priority along with the federal government. And, from my point of view, Mission can't do any more than I could do when I'm trying to get my phone repaired. We need some more help on this, and I'm not sure what the boundaries, who's available to help us on this, but I think we need some louder voices going upstate, rattling some cages, being more gentlemanly about it than I would if I were going up there. Any response to that from anybody?
Yeah.
I've been talking about this for 9 months now, the Verizon, and it hasn't gotten any better.
So, Mr. Lewis, this is John Doherty with Mission Broadband.
Hold up, John, is that mic is on, right? If you tap it? No. I think there's a button on there.
Well,
There you go. Now now we'll.
Sorry, so Mr. Lewis, John Doherty with Mission Broadband. What I did say about Verizon is, yes, they did come out and work last week, and we received 18 new licenses as of today. And so that cleared a whole lot of section. There's 7 outstanding that we're not concerned right now that the timing will come through, but we're ready. The construction company, Certex, will be out sending crews out next week to start working on the pole and aerial lines.
So, you know, Andre asked, somebody asked about lighting the system off in midsummer, and that was, you gave a positive response to that. Are you equally optimistic about turning the last customer on at the end of November? Do I never have to think about Verizon again because I'll have my voice over IP shortly after the end of November?
I would say the customers are going to be turned on for a continued period of time, actually, because I think they're going to be continuing to sign up. So I don't know when I could tell you the last customer is going to be on. But the bulk of the customers will be on, you know, as long as they're signed up as we go through this year.
Well, that's good news. So I guess I can take you to the bank then, because right up until this point, nobody has been able to be comfortable about anything with regard to Verizon, you know. So I thank you for that. And yes, the mic has been off all evening apparently, because I couldn't hear Dr. Walkup either. But anyway, thank you for your help in understanding that we're close to the finish line on the Verizon piece.
I have one more thing.
Thanks, Ray.
Thank you very much, David. Keith?
I just want to say, I don't know whether we say it frequently enough. The challenges of doing this in any community, but especially in this community, when you look at the record over the last couple of years of a new approach to permitting at DEM, a new approach to permitting at CRMC, a town-wide need for generally unresponsive utility to be responsive. The logistical challenges of coordinating ferry schedules and getting employees who are willing to work out here. I mean, I could come up with a dozen sort of off the top of my head that could have very well really damaged the schedule or sidetrack the project altogether. And I think it's extraordinary that we're on the precipice of getting this done. So I just wanted to say thank you to you and to others in town who have been working on this. This is on the order, this is, probably in real dollar sense, the largest public works project that's ever been undertaken here, I think it's, I just sort of thank you for all the work you're doing.
Yeah, you're welcome. And you've working with the town itself is fantastic. Yeah. Amy's been amazing. And, you hired a good partner in Certex, right? They, obviously we help direct them at times, but they've done a great job. Great job. Yeah.
Terrific.
Any other questions, broadband?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Millie, you got anybody
It's
else?
to be over.
See you April 3rd, I think is what I heard.
Yeah, see you April 3rd.
Thank you.
With a big bottle of Verizon champagne.
Millie, there's nobody online, right? Thank you. Next item on the agenda is discuss and act, receiving an update on the National Grid cable project. Mary Ann.
Yep. The folks from National Grid are here, so Millie's going to allow them to join us.
Is there more than two?
Yeah, that's not Jim.
Oh.
It's
There we
Joe.
There we go.
Murphy, George. No, they have the invitation. So, yeah, so Joe Murphy. George, yeah. Joe Murphy.
Okay, I may have all this, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to
What are we doing?
because she has to let that in. She needs to let that in. the national grid.
No, it's been done now. Just. Oh, you just have to juggle so many things. It's.
We just need to take a minute. We're just getting National Grid in.
No.
But I mean.
Good evening. Mary Ann, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Are you ready for me to start or you need a minute?
Yes, go ahead. This is Andre Bujo, First Warden. You're before the Town Council. We're all here listening. If you could just identify your name and let us know who we're talking to this evening.
Sure, thank you. Thank you so much. So my name is Joe Murphy and I work for National Grid. And also here with me tonight, representing National Grid is George Maximovich, who's the project manager, and Dave Arthur, who is the director of project management. We're also hoping to have.
This is Andre Bujo, First Warden. You're before the Town Council. We're all here listening. If you could just identify your name and let us know who we're talking to this evening.
Sure, thank you. Thank you so much. So my name is Joe Murphy and I work for National Grid. And also here with me tonight, representing National Grid is George Maximovich, who's the project manager, and Dave Arthur, who is the director of project management. We're also hoping to have. Getting a feedback. I don't know if you guys can hear me or not.
If you just identify your name and let us know who we're talking to this evening. The feedback.
Thank you. Thank you. So my name is Joe Murphy and I work for National Grid.
They do.
Okay, so can you guys still hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you so much.
All right, sorry about that. I was hearing the feedback with the recording going, but let me continue. And so we were also hoping to have with us tonight a representative for a National Grid employee who is going to be transitioning over to PPL. As you may be aware, the Rhode Island assets are being sold to PPL, and we'll have some of the employees moving to that entity, making transition. So Dan Glennie is a person who will be doing that, and he was unfortunate not able to make it tonight, but we will have some future conversations about the transition to make sure it's seamless for the town. I have a few brief comments, and then Dave will provide a little bit more detail and on the next steps. So in December, you asked us to return in February, and so here we are, right, coming back to provide an update on the reburial project. As we indicated in December, we had significant success during the fall 2021 phase of the project, including the cleaning of the conduit and pulling the new cable through the conduit and performing one of the splices. As we mentioned, weather conditions did not permit us to complete the two final pieces of the project. One is the splicing of the new cable, one at the sea and one at the land. And the second part was the removal of the old section of the cable from the beach out to the sea. We utilized the wintertime period to talk with our contractor and to further examine both the weather patterns and the equipment to potentially modify our approach to ensure that the highest possibility of success. And as we have indicated, the marine mobilization is a very challenging operation. So the plan for today is to return in the spring. Our contractor will be mobilizing in mid to late March, and we'll be ready to start the project in April, weather permitting. So our presence will be concentrated on a portion of the north parking lot and the beach, but only for the removal of the old cable which will be a limited time period. So I would like to turn it over to Dave Arthur, who can provide a little bit more background and a little bit more detail on some of the points I've made this evening. All right. I don't know if you can hear Dave or not.
Joe, what's his phone number? Do you have it? Okay.
Okay, were you able to identify him? Yeah,
Can you guys hear me? This is Dave Arthur.
there you go, Dave.
Excellent. This is David Arthur. I am the Director of Project Management at National Grid. So thanks for hearing us out tonight. And as Joe indicated, we understand everyone's interest about completing the project as soon as possible. And so the main headline here is we're starting to prep to return to island. The goal of equipment arrival on March 24th. As Joe indicated, we're starting mobilization activities, which include a number of off-island activities and then being on island late March. And I want to kind of walk through a couple details regarding our means and methods, scope, and schedule. First, after we were unable to complete the splicing in late fall, we worked with our contractor LS Cable to perform additional reviews and re-look at all the vessels available. We're currently using an anchor barge. We wanted to reassess the equipment to make sure that we didn't miss anything. And this equipment analysis looked at 3 different types of vessels in the hopes that we could potentially expand our opportunity for success. Those types of vessels were a jackup barge, shallow dynamic positioning vessel, and the Global Symphony, which is a specifically named barge that had been used by Ørsted previously in the area. So it was reconfirmed that a jackup barge is not feasible, doesn't have the required mobility to complete the splice operation. And it also does have the same wave height operating limitations that our current anchor barge does. The dynamic positioning vessel would require position changes if wind speeds were greater than 25 knots. And this maneuvering would not be possible with the cable on deck. So if we're to utilize that type of barge, we'd have to drop the cable, pick it up and reposition. This would add time and risk to our schedule. And in addition, the wind speed limitations are the same as the anchor barge. And the limitations on the Global Symphony, that's the barge that Ørsted had previously used, was it needs a minimum of 40-foot depth of water to operate. And our splice location is about 22 to 28 feet offshore. So we did reconfirm with LS Cable, and we feel that the anchor barge is the appropriate vessel to be utilizing for the operation. We also took a really deep dive into the weather history over the area in the last 10 years. And we need a minimum of a 5-day window. A 6-day window is preferable to complete the splice. And looking back over the month of April, 7 out of the past 10 years, there was at least one window of opportunity to complete the work. And that gets greater as we move to May and June. But what we wanted to look at here is that was the utilizing the strict parameters of 24 hours of wave height, less than 4 feet, and 24 hours of wind speeds less than 25 miles per hour. So when we say 7 of the past 10 years, the opportunities increase when we make onshore review with the captain. So real-time calls are made based on wind direction coming from land or coming from sea, which would expand those parameters. The opportunities to have any 5-day window in March are significantly lower. So with this data, we said we're going to start mobilizing in March to capture the windows, which we feel will open up in April. And that's where we ended up with the March 24th mobilization date. So upon return, the remaining piece of the project involved the splicing and testing of the conductor, as Joe indicated, and the removal of the old cable from the beach and offshore. So the splicing will take place at 2 locations, the marine offshore and the north parking lot onshore. So the need for the needed footprint in the north parking lot is going to be focused around the manholes, plus the need to remove the existing cable on the beach. But generally speaking, the presence will be material smaller than our recent mobilization. And there's no anticipated impact on the north parking lot. And just as we indicated in the fall, the parking lot would be restored to its pre-project condition as needed. And we expect the overall duration, once splice starts, to be 4 weeks. So we are working at opportunities to parallel land-based activities. And this would allow us opportunity to reduce that overall duration. And this would involve immediately commencing cable removals immediately after we cut in onshore. And we have to make sure that we did that and we started the removals, that the splicing activities were advancing without issue. So our schedule provides us a very good degree of confidence that the work can be completed by May 25th. So as a wrap up, this portion of the work really impacts key stakeholders, and it's really critical because it does require an outage to the island. So it's critical for us to have the highest level of efficiency and confidence that we move forward, we can be successful. And consistent with the rebuild project to date, National Grid's going to continue to evaluate and adjust the plan and communicate with the town as we go, and take into account the conditions of the weather and ocean deployment. And we will continue to conduct weekly calls with the town, BIPCO and Orsted. These calls recommenced on January 11th, and we're going to continue those on a weekly basis to ensure that we continue to communicate with the activities. And I want to really reiterate, we want this splicing done and really feel we can be successful. We're excited about return to the island to do so. So with that, I'll pause to see if there's any questions relative to the information I just laid out. I know it was a lot. Thank you for listening.
Council, Martha Ball?
Yeah, I have a question. You said that the Global Symphony draws too much water.
That's
So,
it.
so it wasn't draws too much water. It needs a minimum of a 40 foot of ocean depth for operations. So we don't have the ocean depth at our splice location.
Basically the same thing. But my question then is, why were they able to use the Global Symphony for the other splice? Is that further out? I'm baffled here.
That's correct. Their splice was further out in the water.
It's more complicated than I realized.
Thank you, Martha. Anybody else, Council? Mark Emanuel?
Mary Ann, do we have an easement agreement for that month or however long it's going to take in place?
The easement is currently under draft form. There was some language that Mission Broadband would like to add to that easement, and we are working. Matter of fact, we had a 2-hour phone conversation with Joe and the folks from Mission Broadband this afternoon. That'll be before you on March 2nd.
And I can't remember what second.
Well, I'll jump back in.
Martha?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the north parking lot.
Okay, you got it.
The north parking, just so you understand, I live down the north end, so I go past that parking lot at least a couple of times a day, and I have for more years than I'm going to acknowledge here. Let's say a few decades. And the parking lot just gets smaller and smaller, and it's not restored to its previous condition, and it shouldn't be. It should be better than it was. And what the heck is all of that area that you took out of our parking lot? Where the roses were planted? It shrank. The other one, the south parking lot got bigger, and the north.
So you're talking about the berm between the parking lot and the street? Is that what you're referring to?
Get down there. That's what I'm talking.
Sorry.
Yes, that's what she's talking about.
Yeah, so we worked with the town manager, Sam Bird, prior, and to ensure that the return of the border of the berm in the parking lot was the same as it was prior to our arrival there. If you remember, we had to remove a portion of it to enable our machinery for the cable pole and the HDD. But we've had, and I think that you may find in the record that we talked about this at a prior meeting, but we did have Sam involved in that process to ensure that the posts were back where they were before, and the width of the berm was the same as it was before. So we can certainly double check that for you, but that's that's where we ended up on that particular item.
Okay, well, that was a huge tactical error. It was a mistake. It shouldn't have been done. It should be undone. And for the amount of traffic that goes up and down that road, particularly to the landfill, And the number of vehicles that have been out there, I certainly think the north lot should be improved over what it was when you stepped in there. And that berm is bigger now than it ever was. The south end of the park, the south parking lot at the beach was a good model. And I was very disappointed to see it not replicated in the north end.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the additional spaces that are in the south parking lot now.
Well, that was only done by, the two parking lots were virtually the same before this project started.
Yeah, I guess we'd have to go back and look at our records for that. I mean, our activity was in the north parking lot. Orsted's activity was in the south parking lot. I'm not sure what activity they did with their berm and adjusting the berm that was in the south parking lot, but I understand that it was returned to the space that was there prior as well.
South Park,
But they would,
bigger, just, you really don't want to have this argument.
No, and this
no,
is,
no, and I'm not trying to argue with you by any means. I just want to understand your point. That's all.
no, you're not arguing. I get it. This is why I asked for what I asked for, which is, I think in order to be comfortable with an extension of the easement, I want the town's people to, the Jim Jeremiah's, the Tom Reesons, the Matt Moynihan's, the Marianne Crawfords, to tell us that they are comfortable with the plan that has been agreed to on the parking lots. Because I'm certainly no expert, but and that includes things like drainage repairs. In fact, in some respects, that's at least as compelling as the space are the drainage issues. So to me, whenever we're going to meet on this, and I said this in response to Mary Ann's email, whenever we're going to meet about the easement, to me, agenda item number 1 needs to be the town's experts saying that they have met with you and met with Orsted and are comfortable with the plan going forward on parking lot restoration.
No, that's helpful clarification. And we can certainly employ those resources and like I said, include and to the degree we can include Sam Bird as well, because he has firsthand knowledge on it. But we'll let us take that back. Appreciate it.
And just furthering that includes snow fencing, which I think is reflective of quality. And if you want, I can send you a picture of it now, and hopefully that's not reflective of the quality.
Okay.
Any other comments from the council? Mary Ann? Public? All right, hearing none. Mary Ann?
As we discussed, the easement is not ready for this evening. We can move on to change orders. That is before the council. Jim Jeremiah is in the meeting.
Thank you.
We're all set with National Grid.
Thank you, guys.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is National Grid Cable. That's easements not ready. Discuss and act on the change order. Change order number 1 to Dammer Construction for paving Pilot Hill Road and Payne Road, increasing the total by $45,320.58. Mary Ann?
So I'm going to put this, Jim Jeremiah is in the call, so I would ask him to speak to the councils about these change orders and what's going on with them. The documentation is in here, which is really self-explanatory, but he'll be more than happy to go over it with you.
Okay, Jim Jeremiah, he's on.
Good evening, everybody.
Yes,
This change order number 1 for D'Ambra Construction, let me just explain a little bit on the bidding process. With utility contracts, it's not a lump sum like a house or a major project. It is unit pricing. So the per ton for asphalt, gravel, et cetera, they're unit prices. So everything is upfront as far as the numberings, as far as the dollar value is concerned. So when D'Ambra came to the island the second time to complete the Pilot Hill project, Pilot Hill Road restoration. We were directed to do additional work on Payne Road, both at the entrance where the water project ended. We extended that paved area to help Mike with the drainage, and also at the back end at the beginning of Payne Road. We also extended some of the work along Pilot Hill to bring it to a reasonable intersection that was extended about, I want to say 60 to 80 feet. And finally, the other change is on Old Town Road and Center Road. When we first did the design, we had an infiltration system in there. And I found that during the rain events, because the drainage comes down Center Road, wraps around the corner and ponds in that area. The ponding was still occurring. It would disappear quickly, but it was still occurring. So what we decided to do is put a riprap swale in there. So now the water will leave the road, enter the infiltration without ponding on the road. So those are the three let's say, increases to the contract unit pricing, and that amounted to $45,320. Now, just to let you know that the town had authorized $2 million for bonding for roadway improvements, and still on that bonding with the completion of Connecticut Avenue, Old Town Road, Pilot Hill, and West Beach Road. The town still has over $300,000 in that bond authorization. So if you decide to do additional roadway work, you still have the authorization. So we have not exceeded the bond authorization nor the budget for these projects. So change order number one just reflects a balance. This is the end of the project. So this reflects the final contract amount for D'Ambra on their work on the project.
Thank you. Do you want to just go into number two also?
Sure. Number two, change order number two is Boyle and Fogarty. It's a separate contract. It is Boyle and Fogarty on the High Street Water System Improvements Project. Again, because of the unit quantities and the various decreases. In this particular instance, we had a decrease in the amount of contract cost because some of the unit prices or some of the quantities were reduced. In this case, we have a reduction in the contract of $204,082.98. Now, this is part of the USDA grant, loan grant to the Water Commission. This is all grant money, the balance of this, and USDA has allowed the Water Commission to use this funds, which is grant money, to improve the SCADA and communications and controls at the water company. So this money will now move into what we call SCADA or instrumentation upgrades to the water company. Well, those are the two. It's what we refer to in the industry as a balancing change order. We clear out the units so that when an order comes, the quantities are zeroed out and the contract is completed. So those are the two change orders. One to D'Ambra on the roads and one to Boyle and Fogarty on the water system improvements.
Thank you, Jim. Council, any questions on these?
Question of process, Amy. The 204, which goes back or to be used for instrumentation, is that held by the town or by the water company?
Right now, it's held by USDA. The money, USDA reimburses after the money is expended. What we call a monthly budget is sent into USDA and they reimburse the town for cost. So once the loan is closed on a USDA project, first you have to use the loan money. That has all been used. Now we're into the grant money. So as the grant money is being spent every month when the money is being expended, we put in a pay request to get reimbursed. So the town will be reimbursed this money. The town doesn't physically have the money. They spend it and then the USDA reimburses them.
And I'm sorry, just to double check, the USDA approved all of that instrumentation, et cetera, that you mentioned?
Yes, they have. That's all been pre-approved prior to going forward on this project.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to approve change order number 1 to D'Amber Construction Company for paving Pilot Hill Road and Payne Road, increasing the total by $45,320.58.
Second.
Seconded by Sven. All those in favor? Keith? Martha? I'm in favor. Sven? And Mark?
Aye.
Motion carried 5-0. I'll make an order to approve the change, make a motion to approve the change order to Boylan Fogarty Construction Company for the water main replacement on Water Street project, reducing the total by $204,082.98. Seconded by Sven. All those in favor, Mark?
Aye.
Sven?
Aye.
I'm in favor. Martha? Keith? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Jim, for joining us this
Thanks,
evening.
Jim.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.
Number 13, discuss and act on a resolution regarding affordable housing eligibility standards to include households in New Shum only whose adjusted gross income is less than 140% of the area median income. This is a resolution to change some legislation upstate, I think, right? This has been done in the past. It's been submitted in the past. It has passed the Senate, not the House. Hopefully this year we can get it passed in both chambers. With that, I will make a motion to approve the resolution dated February 16th regarding affordable housing eligibility standards.
Second.
All right, that's a good. All those in favor? Keith?
Yes.
Martha? I'm in favor. Sven?
Aye.
And Mark?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Discuss community.
I'm sorry, just a quick one. And May 4th is all on this, right?
Well, on what?
Or they will be helping with House or Senate and figure out how to communicate and make sure everyone's aware?
What we'll do is this resolution will be signed and forwarded.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get them on board. Yeah.
You can forward them.
Item number 14 is discuss community budget priorities. Marianne, you want to grab that, or I don't know how that came about. Oh, Keith, you want to grab that?
It was me, and this is something I raised during the budget season last year, because I felt like one of the challenges I had was that we end up chasing what are expressed as community priorities after the budget is already done. And I had hoped, though not expressed clearly, that we would have a conversation where the community was invited to come and speak about what their priorities might be. That was my intention. Having said that, we're now, and this is precisely the problem. We're now 3 hours into a meeting, and I have a list of things that I'd be happy to talk about, but I don't think anybody else would be happy to talk about it, which is kind of, in a way, the problem. Just to avoid listening to me drone on, I would say that I think in the future, there would be value to having that kind of a community conversation before the budget process begins, because it's not fair to Marianne, it's not fair to Amy and the other folks. They go through based upon what has happened before, what they perceive the priorities might be, without affirmative statements from the community, without different ideas from the community. Then we have budget hearings, and Mary Ann, Amy et al. Are sort of forced to now try to cram priorities that they hadn't really contemplated into a budget structure that has already sort of been proposed and balanced. That's not to say that Mary Ann and Amy aren't nimble and perfectly capable. It's just, it seems to me that there ought to be a bit of a horse that comes before that cart when we contemplate the budget in the future.
Can you give I don't care about 3 hours, but can you give an example of what you're talking about? I mean, I think about housing or fire or.
Sure.
Whatever,
I mean, when I think about this, I think about what are the, to use the cliche, what are the legs of the stool that support a viable and sustainable year-round community? You know what I mean? That's kind of the principle that I start with. And to me, the first thing on that list is public health and safety. I assume that we're going, based upon Matt's presentation recently, that we're going to make some significant investments in the public safety, in the police infrastructure. It's my hope that we'll be making them in the fire and rescue. And it's my hope that we have an appropriate and probably increased investment in, not probably, but we have to increase, I think, our investment in the medical center. The kind of pressure that facility is under and that those providers are under is significant. If we want to have a viable, sustainable year-round community, people need to know that there is a competent, coherent public safety strategy and investment, that there is a competent and coherent medical infrastructure investment that our community makes, because you can't drive to the doctor if you need the doctor. And when you look at the data over time, people are now voting with their feet and consuming a lot of Islanders are consuming a lot of their care there. So that's one of them. The school is another. The library is another. And then the other one is one, we've all been tuned into for, our entire time here, is housing. And what do those housing investments look like? You hear we need a housing staff person. You hear we need to, make grants for home ownership. We need to transition the structure of our housing development into more of a housing authority that focuses on rental. There are all kinds of things out there. And I say that without endorsing any particular one, because I think we still have to have the community conversation. But I'm certain that if we had this kind of a forum, we would hear a lot from housing advocates about what they think. So those are, my sort of, I hate the legs of the stool cliche, but if you don't have one of those, you really do jeopardize the viability of the year-round community, in my opinion.
Lance?
So do you want to schedule this? When would you like to schedule this? September, in the summer, October, November, before we start the budget?
I think, I think in the fall. I think
September,
really,
we'll put in the September work session.
I would look to you to that might be early. I don't know, but I just, I know you have to think about the budget every day. I don't mean that, but when do you start sort of, in terms of your notion and imagination,
I think September would be great.
September? Great. Yes, I think that would be wonderful.
Thank you, Mary. Next item on the agenda is
A correspondence from Kelly Walsh, useful reusable container project, and Tracy Dillon, notice of zoning modification for plat 10, lot 27. We'll accept the conversation, but Kelly, you're here. You want to give us some details on that?
Actually, Allison Rogers from Useful is on the call.
Oh, great. Terrific.
We'll tell her to be quick. Just kidding.
That's another hour.
Just kidding. She's on,
Yeah,
and her name is what?
Allison Rogers.
Allison Rogers. Allison Rogers, are you online with us this evening?
She's on, she said she's on.
She's on mute. I think she's on mute.
Kelly, while we're waiting, do you want to just give a 20-second primer as to what useful
She's
is?
trying to unmute, she said. Which number is she on? Okay, I got it.
Got her.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. That was hard to unmute. It's great to be with you all this evening. Thank you so much. Allison Rogers here from Useful, and Kelly, thank you so much for getting us on the agenda for the night. Just wanted to give a quick update on a pilot project that we have planned for launching in just a few weeks here. We are working with Kelly and other business owners in the community to work towards reducing waste from takeout packaging, specifically to-go food and drinks. And instead of single-use packaging, replacing it with returnable stainless steel, vacuum insulated to-go cups and containers with a technology that allows you to check it out essentially like a library book. So this is both an environmental as well as cost savings initiative for local businesses. And we're inviting residents to participate in this pilot. It's a pilot that's free of charge. And we're really gearing up, we're working with locals to want to learn a lot through this pilot and gear up to apply for a phase 2 grant from the US EPA. We've already been awarded a phase 1 grant to allow us to scale and continue to reduce waste in the community.
Can you tell us how this works really quick?
Yes. All users that go to a cafe or restaurant will need to start by downloading our app, which is available for both Android and iOS, and create an account. They can then go to any participating location where they scan to check out inventory, again, like a library book. So there's a unique QR code on the bottom of each cup or container. And then we give you a free 2-day rental period before it's due back to any location where it's then washed and put back into circulation.
Thank you. So Kelly, help me out. I go check out a container from I'm going to use your food truck as an example. So that food truck, I get my food from your food truck in that container. And then I leave with that container and silverware. And then I return that to your food truck or any other place.
Or any participating place or any public place that may have a bin, such as the Chamber of Commerce, library, what have you.
And this is reduced packaging, I guess. This is what. And how many people do you have on board? How many businesses you got on board?
Well, we're gonna pilot pretty soon, so it's just with places that are open right now.
Right.
Old Diamond Pub, Macaroons, Macaroons, Oddfellows, and Taco Bell.
So this is so when I if an individual brings this container back after getting their takeout in it, it's got to be cleaned, or does it get cleaned at the?
Yeah, so Black Island Conservancy is also involved, and they're going to be providing an intern And we're trying to find a location. I don't want to say where the location's gonna be, because I'm not sure yet. Like a location where the intern can go and use a commercial washing place. But if something's returned to a restaurant or a food truck, we're a commercial kitchen, so we can just wash them and put it back into circulation.
And this is
So
here.
the app and the QR codes track where all the pieces are at any given time. So if you're returning something, you scan the QR code on the bin where you're returning it. And so the app always knows where all the pieces are.
What would you like from us?
We'd like you to support this and say that this is a good thing for the community. Basically, right now, that's all the individual people that would use the program, download the app and use the program.
What's the council?
And-
Put it under correspondence.
Council have any comments or?
No, my only comment was you put it under correspondence. We don't act on correspondence.
Right.
I think it's a great idea.
I think it's a great idea.
Allison will be here next week. There's gonna be, at the chamber, we're doing a webinar for chamber members. And so she'll be here next week and she's happy to answer any questions from anyone at any time.
Allison, when will you be here, Allison? What's the date on that?
Tuesday, next Tuesday. So Lars is hosting a Zoom around noontime, and then I believe also the Lions Club meeting in the evening.
I would certainly like to check that out. Absolutely. I think it's a great idea.
Holly was kind enough to host a meeting last summer that I went to. It's really cool. It's a very innovative idea. And you know, and I think you know, when you go to the dump and you see, I happened to notice it recently how many of those clamshell containers there are. This is a, you know, every one of those you take out of the waste stream, the project's a win, you know.
Well, as Martha said, you know, we don't act on correspondence, but I'd certainly love to go check it out on Tuesday. You can keep me posted on that. You can tag, you got my number. Go ahead,
Is
Sven.
there a time Tuesday, Allison? Allison, is there a time?
So there's Lars is hosting a Zoom at noon. And then I believe the Lions Club in the afternoon. I'll also just check out at next Tuesday. Email is allison@useful.us, ALISON@USEFULL.us, and would love to get to meet all you. I think our big ask is that you participate in the pilot. So download the app and go out and use the system when we do launch in a few weeks, and provide any feedback of what's working, what's not working, so we continue to enhance the offering to the community. And then in June, we'll start putting together our lessons learned from the pilot project and apply for a phase 2 grant, which would enable us to scale to beyond just locals to summer residents and to tourists. So we would look for your support, potentially a letter of support from community members, essentially telling the EPA that this would be great for the community.
If I can, one, thanks, Kelly. A lot of work, and she's been doing a lot, and Allison. I think that it would be great to get on our agenda in potentially July or June, depending on that timing, about the letter, but then a little bit of a recap and the learnings to be able to change, you know, because no matter what, there are going to be little things here and there, and how do we collect and what happens when they file, whatever it may be. At least based on everything I've seen, heard from you, et cetera, and read, I think you're going to have 5 people in great support here, or at least not speaking for everybody, but I think be really supportive. And so we all want to help and look forward.
Fantastic. I really appreciate it, and look forward to seeing many of you on Tuesday when I'm there in person.
Thank you. Much appreciated, Kelly. Thank you so much for this. Other piece of correspondence, Tracy Dillon regarding notice of violation, notice of zoning modification permit for plat 10, lot 27. Well, that'll make somebody's eyes. Hope she's not listening. They just gave her a heart attack. Accepted item number 16, legislative agenda, prohibition class C liquor license, affordable attainable housing, taxing nightly vacation.
So this is just noted.
Taxing nightly vacation housing, and yes, encourage still trade workforce, sea level rise funding, landing fee, tourism improvement district, happy hour bill, binding arbitration bill.
Happy hour bill.
That was submitted, it's in your pack. It's in your packet, yeah. There's some changes to it if we want to support those changes.
So what you have before you this evening under legislative agenda, two bills in particular that we would like the council to act on in the form of a resolution. One is the happy hour bill. There's a pending happy hour bill that the police chief has some concerns about. A happy hour that especially currently with the life of what our summers are like here in Block Island. So we would prefer not to have a happy hour bill move forward. The second bill that is also pending in the legislation this evening is a bill for binding arbitration on financial matters. Currently, there's binding arbitration on financial matters and other matters with contracts with public safety. For us, it's just the police. However, there's a bill pending for binding arbitration for non-public safety folks that will also be binding on financial matters. Anyone who's familiar with binding arbitration on financial matters can be fairly costly to any kind of community. The League of Cities and Towns, as well, a number of other municipalities have taken a stance on specifically the binding arbitration in recent years, not supporting such legislation. And the happy hour bill is a new bill that's just pending this year.
Chief, you want to speak to those? Is that, well, Mary Ann, I don't.
Yeah, I'll have the chief speak about the happy hour bill. The binding arbitration, I think is pretty, if you have other questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Good evening. Just a few comments I think about the happy hour bills. It appears that the proposed bill is intended to drive business to restaurants and bars, probably more relevant to the mainland. As you all know, I think when we talk about activities out here on the island, the biggest issue or concern for law enforcement is overconsumption. And so despite the bill has, it speaks to serving food with alcohol, I wouldn't be in favor of supporting this or seeing this go through or any type of legislation that really encourages more drinking than occur out here. So that's really all I have on it. But again, I think when we look at it, whether it's intended for the mainland to increase business, bring people out during certain times, I don't think the island has necessarily a concern with bringing people out during those hours of the day that businesses may struggle between the lunch and dinner. And when the visitors come, they're visiting our establishments, and again, I think it's just this is more suited towards the mainland and would cause maybe additional problems for out here. So
what do you want from it? So
Yeah, would you like us to?
Closing the bill or?
Yes.
I have a question before we go get there. The
Happy hour, Martha.
I thought is a pub crawl prohibited?
No, an organized.
Any license is prohibited from knowingly allowing the use of its premises as part of an organized pub crawl, so-called. That happens here all the time.
We call that bachelorette parties.
So they call it a pub crawl.
I know. But I mean, there's many other reasons.
No, I mean, it's right here. They have T-shirts, that's organized. You'd be amazed what I see from inside my little cubicle downtown.
There used to be a lot of pub crawls.
I don't know if they're organized, but
I think when you look at the definition of organized, whether it's organized by the people involved or it's organized by establishments. So it's establishments coming together to organize, saying groups coming to be a wedding party or a bachelorette party.
But they're the worst. They are the worst. The worst. I mean, come on, what, you guys not seeing this? They are.
never once in my life.
From the
No idea. They never came into the Albion.
So can I ask you, or Marty, I don't want to interrupt.
Never
you.
mind, I just.
They're all afraid to go into the Albion.
The Albion's been gone a long time. I'm talking about
Well.
what's happening today.
So my question would be on, let's stick to the pub crawl one, only because we can separate them. I have to believe that most South County towns would be, well, I don't know, I would imagine there's some other towns that aren't in favor of this. Have you heard from any other towns, or is it worth to reach out and just say, hey, look, if we can collectively join together, or maybe this is something, you know, whether lobbyists can help with it. I mean, just the power of Block Island is whatever, it's pretty small. If we can get 10 towns, 15 towns to sort of collective.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a temperature on other towns, and again, I think looking at this in post-COVID, it's a maybe a proposed bill to try to increase business.
Is there a bill number or anything like that?
Yeah.
It's right here.
Yeah.
S2135.
So,
I'm not sure what the two. They're both.
January session 80/2022.
you want us to draft a resolution and pass it?
Yes.
Yep.
And with all
Okay.
respect, Sven, I don't care if a single other town or community.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
We have to fight it on our
Even
own,
if
but
we're
we'll
one-
have more clout if there's other brethren.
And what do you want on binding art?
The same thing,
Same thing?
yeah.
Yep.
Resolution, that's what we're gonna do.
Thank you, Chief.
Is this a binding art with a genuine neutral or with, from a panel that is, you know?
I think what it is, it's usually the binding arbitration, the state of Rhode Island, union fixed one, management fixed one, and the third one's the neutral body.
Where is the list of neutrals?
The list is basically there's a list of folks that are arbitrators in Rhode Island, and that's where they pick from, and
Yes.
I would just leave it at
Yes.
So that's bill number H7198,
that. That's why they call it.
and they're all best friends
Yeah.
with the borrowing, with the.
And they're all on a pub crawl.
So we need a resolution in opposition to that as well. Does League of Cities and Towns have a sample resolution?
I think I can dig one out, or they can provide it. So would you like us to just draft it?
Yes,
Get
both.
folks to-
Yep. I do have one thing to say about all of these things, since these sprang from my, I thought we were gonna do on our legislative agenda sort of, let's throw a whole bunch of stuff on the table, because it's an opportunity to sort of talk about things. And that's kind of one of the good things about having a legislative agenda, and as we work with a lobbyist, I think, you know, we can sort of leverage these types of conversations. But it is a way to impose some kind of, like, what do you really want? Kind of conversation on this. And, you know, like one of the things that is on here is tax on short term. Well, if you look at what some other states are doing, you know, I don't know, but my point in raising these things is at some point we have to have a conversation about how we monetize some of the tourist traffic. You know, at some point, how do you fund some of this stuff without relying solely on the property tax? And we don't rely solely on it, but you know what I mean, just sort of at the macro level. I don't know what that looks like, but it certainly is a worthwhile conversation to have. Not so much about any of these particular taxes, but about as a community, for example, over time, do we want to approach the legislature to talk about having some sort of an alternative structure so that we can raise money because our town is so unique and has such an outsized number of visitors, so that's really, the same thing on apprentices and workforce. I mean, I think we've got to have a conversation around what our workforce is going to look like and whether there are things that the town could do to incent people either to get trained or to live here, which of course goes in perfectly with the house. So I just wanted to say that, I threw a lot of these things out there, mostly as opportunities to we all sort of talk about the macro, geez, we got to do something about this. Well, what would you do if you could do it? It's sort of like we were talking about around housing recently. Okay, well, what if $3 million fell from the sky? What would you do with it? We should have those conversations, at some time other than probably 9:13 p.m.
It was like 2 million.
It was 2 million. That's
It keeps increasing.
inflation.
All right, so Millie, when we're making up the next agenda,
I think a question about something on this list.
hold on, let me just, so the happy hour bill, we have this worksheet here that you put on the table tonight. Thank you for that. So,
She included it every single agenda.
yeah, so we can focus on what Keith's talking about. We have, we have on the agenda things like the prohibition on the Class C liquor license. Okay, let's get that off of there. Let's put a resolution to vote on that at the next agenda. Yep, you got low speed vehicles, take that right off of there. We decided against that.
It says that. It says that.
Right.
That's your tracking sheet. I think.
All right, no, I'm going on.
To keep it correct.
To keep it so what we've got. All right, so we've got a happy hour bill, we got binding arbitration bill, we've got landing fee, we haven't discussed, sea level right fund. So all these things that it's either let's have resolutions to vote on at our next meeting for the ones we've decided we want resolutions to vote on at our next meeting, and then we can move on with what the things that Keith's talking about. Instead of looking at these, all the same things, let's just get them off the docket. The ones we have resolutions. So moving forward, we're gonna have a resolution for binding arbitration, happy hour, Class C. Right now, definition of affordable housing. Let's get those so that we can, let's get those resolutions on the next agenda if we can, okay? So we can vote on them and move on.
Can I make, I know I had something. I just want to.
No, my only comment was on the apprentices to work without direct supervision of a master, instead be overseen by the building official. Is that more of a statewide that's becoming increasingly a statewide problem, isn't it?
It is, it really is, and that was, my bet is under the statute, it's politically impossible to do something like that. I don't know, but I was thinking, if we could get a young person or two who wanted to be plumbing apprentices, could we figure out an alternate method of supervision of those kids? That would enable them to do, what is at their skill level and, give some young people an opportunity to build a plumbing business here. It's just, again, I don't know what it looks like, it's just,
But I think that beyond that, though, that would be a great topic for maybe the facilities director to come, who probably knows more about this than I do.
Right.
And just talk to us and say, okay, who can we start figuring out how to do this? I mean, at the medical center, you now have some junior folks that are learning and helping out with some of the basics. I mean,
there are ways that we can nurture and continue to build. So maybe on that one,
I also think with some of this stuff, when you're talking like these apprenticeships and labor type of positions, I also think we really need to get the school engaged in these
Yeah.
conversations,
Yeah.
because they're the ones that are going to be able to identify the kids and come up, they have senior projects, they have a bunch of things that these kids need to do. And I think we really need to engage the school on some of these conversations.
To Martha's point, and part of the reason I threw this on there and talked about it is the obvious. When was the last time, you were at a dinner with someone and they didn't say, who are you using for what? It's a pervasive concern, but just as we're kind of at a moment on housing, I think we might be at a moment in terms of workforce development as well. So making sure that May 4th and we are paying attention to some of the potentially innovative workforce things that might be going on in Providence and keeping us apprised of those, I think that would make some sense.
on a different subject, Andre?
Go ahead, yeah.
On a different subject or on one of these, I don't know if you guys would be okay with it, but I'd love to have a meeting, or at least a pre-meeting with Interstate regarding, they do the collection of landing fees and sort of understanding landing fees, a little bit about digging in. How do we not start poking each other, but rather maybe linking fingers and moving together? And so I think prior to us discussing that a lot, I mean, if you guys are okay, I'd love to sit with Marianne and meet with Josh, whoever they want to bring to the table, just to talk about it, but to learn and talk. If that's something Marianne would be interested in doing, and if you guys want, I'll do it, or somebody else does it.
The structure of this was, I think the landing fee. Amy, do you know how the landing fee is authorized? Is it
Yeah,
a
it's a statute.
statute or is it a side agreement with the PUC?
Big statute.
It is.
There is a secondary agreement
That's,
between the parties.
yeah.
About even some of the mechanics.
'Cause they're
So the
basically
statute
all-
calls for an agreement, and there is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just get all the pieces in line because.
Right.
Because I was at a meeting and somebody was saying it was statute and I was like, no, it's not completely. There's more to it than that.
Well, to some degree, just Interstate just collects, right? So,
They volunteer to collect.
well,
They get compensated.
And everybody gets the wrong number on that because the landing fee is 50%. I mean, 50 cents a piece. Look at the number that they get and think that's the percentage that's what tries twice that. And so when this happened, the world has changed since this happened.
right.
When it happened, it wasn't as easy as just pushing a button and being a total.
So I'd love to, if you guys are okay with that, I'd love to sit with Marianne, meet with Interstate, or assign somebody to meet with Marianne, just to start that discussion now, I mean, next few weeks, and start that process moving, because I think right now in public session, I'm not sure we have all the answers. So you guys decide whether you're okay with me doing it,
And I'm
or,
not even sure that's the right mechanism.
I don't know either, no, but well.
Throwing stuff around.
The other thing when we talk about the taxes, Amy, can we get because I am totally lost on the taxes, I know the housing board, and that's about what I know. I used to understand the tourism council at one point. And then you throw the cottage tax into that, and then you throw the other tax. Can we just get some kind of chart that actually shows us? Because I think we talk about some things that may actually exist that we don't even know exist. And we really have to know where we are, and I've got very little clue anymore. Really appreciate that.
We got on the topic?
Thank you so much.
We good?
You good, and you good, Marianne, talking?
Marion, you got all that?
I'm sorry.
Do you have that, all that input?
Yes.
Is there anybody else? Anything else on the topic? Minutes, February 2nd, February 7th, open and closed. Anybody have any issues with those? Because if not, I'll do them in a block.
I have none.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes of February 2nd and February 7th, open and closed for February 7th.
Second.
Mark.
Second by Mark. All those in favor? Mark
Aye.
and Sven.
Aye.
I'm in favor. Martha?
Aye.
Have you read them? And Keith.
Oh, yeah, you read every word.
I just did while you guys were talking. So yes, motion will carry 5-0 on the minutes. Item number 18, receive, discuss, and act on the update regarding negotiations with Rhode Island Council 94, AFSCME, AFL-CIO Local 2855, New Shoreham Employee Association and Town of New Shoreham and New Shoreham School Committee. This item may be discussed in closed session pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42465A2, sessions pertaining to collective bargaining or litigation, or work sessions pertaining to collective bargaining or litigation. Mary Ann, do we need to go into closed session?
No, we don't need to go into closed session. As I advised the council when we started the negotiations, I would have this on the agenda just to have it there. It doesn't mean we need to go into, we just started negotiations. We only had one meeting.
Thank you. Thank you for updating.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Sven. All those in favor?
Aye.
And Sven.
Hi.
And I'm in favor. Martha?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. And Keith. Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. Doctor, Chief, Kelly.
Olympics are on, although the hockey team lost last night.
I know.
I read that the figure skating commentators, when that young woman was skating, were silent.
Brutal.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again,